Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 38 of the Unstoppable Entertainment Show, the most comprehensive entertainment news show on the internet. I am, of course, Nate Schaffner, otherwise known as the Unstoppable Nate. Welcome back. Um, I just want to point out real quick. I am aware of some audio issues on my last episode. I'm not a tech genius. I am trying to figure it out. Hopefully, the audio on this episode is better. I sincerely apologize for that. I'm doing the best I can. So so we'll see if the audio on this episode is better. Hopefully, it is. Again, I sincerely apologize for that. I'm working on it. So this is the second episode I'm going to do today. Little less formal, as you can see. It's my day off. I'm gonna relax. So lots to talk about on this episode. Just a quick reminder: if you want to, if you like this show, go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, spread the word, tell your friends. Also, if you have a comment or question, and you'd like me to, or if you'd like me to talk about certain movies or franchises, you can email me anytime at the address listed in the description of this video. So with that out of the way, hopefully the audio is better. Again, I do apologize for that. I'm working on it. So with all that out of the way, let's get started with this. So for those who don't know, there is a second. So there was a Mortal Kombat movie that came out recently. It was a remake of it was not the sorry, I'm struggling today. There was a Mortal Kombat movie that came out in 2021, and it is going to be getting a sequel. More on that news later. But I didn't see that Mortal Kombat movie because I heard it was okay, but I don't know. But I haven't seen it. However, there is already more Mortal Kombat news ahead of, but before even Mortal Kombat 2, the movie, is released. This article is on Joe Blow, published by Matthew Plale. Uh, this article says New Line Cinema isn't quite ready to finish him. I love saying that, finish him. New Line Cinema isn't quite ready to finish him, as the studio has announced they have greenlit Mortal Kombat 3, even though Mortal Kombat 2 was still more than a half of a year away from release. So, as reported by Deadline, Mortal Kombat 3 will bring back Jeremy Slater as screenwriter, having penned the sequel, replacing Greg Russo and Dave Callahan. So, Mortal Kombat 3, before Mortal Kombat 2 has even hit theaters, Mortal Kombat 3 has been greenlit. Okay, this says to me that at least the studio, New Line Cinema, is confident in the kind of film that Mortal Kombat 2 is. Mortal Kombat, the first one, obviously was successful enough to warrant a sequel. Again, more on that later. And this says to me that at least the studio is confident enough in Mortal Kombat 2 to greenlight a third one. This says to me that Mortal Kombat 2 is probably better than the first one. Again, that's not really saying much considering what I've heard about the first one. Um, so we'll see about that. I mean, look, this is good news. I mean, for Mortal Kombat fans, I'm a huge fan of the Mortal Kombat games. Not so much any of the movies, really, but anyway. So Mortal Kombat 3 is coming. Awesome, cool. I hope it's awesome. I hope it's bloody. I hope it's awesome. Jump in the comment section and let me know what you guys think about this. So this next bit of news is concerns the is not concerning, but it concerns the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the TV streaming side of it. This article is on MovieWeb, published by Richard Fink. So first of all, I have to say, there's this Spider-Man animated series called Spider-Man, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. I have not watched it. I've heard it's pretty good, but I have not watched it. I'm a huge, first of all, Spider-Man is one of my favorite characters ever. But I have not watched Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, but I need to. That's one of a million shows that I need to get around to watching. But it is part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So, let me see here. Okay, so this article is on MovieWeb, published by Richard Fink. And about halfway down this article, it says that at New York Comic Con, Marvel Animation confirmed that Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man Season 2 would debut on Disney Plus in the fall of 2026. No exact date was specified for Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man's return, but it will be between Spider-Man Brand New Day and Avengers Doomsday. Marvel Animation also showcased a brief teaser featuring the return of Doc Ock, Peter Parker meeting Gwen Stacy, who has already been confirmed as Spider-Gwen, and a lot more Venom. The footage also confirmed the return of Daredevil, who guest starred in Season 1, but will now be wearing his classic red costume. Okay, so I have, like I said, I have not seen Season 1. I've heard it's pretty good. Actually, that's a lie. I've heard it's great. The only negative thing I've heard about it is the style of animation, which, I've talked about my issues with animation before. Like, I can't draw very well. So if I look at something animated and I go, oh, I can draw better than that, like, I can't get into it. But I've seen the trailers for Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, and the animation looks pretty good. I'm glad that we're getting more animated stuff. I'm glad that we're getting more TV in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And obviously, a Season 2 of Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man is good news. That means that Season 1 has been received very well and people are enjoying it. So I'm looking forward to it. I need to watch this show. There's so much. Oh my gosh, there's so much I need to watch. I don't have the time. But yeah, so this is good news. More good Marvel Cinematic Universe news. So jump in the comment section and let me know your thoughts about Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man Season 2. This next bit of news, moving on here, sounds very interesting. Hold on, I want to make sure. I wanna look something up before I continue. Hold on. Okay. So there's an upcoming action thriller movie coming from director Luc Besson. Now, Luc Besson he's French. He's a French filmmaker. He is most known for directing The Professional, which is awesome. If you guys haven't seen The Professional with Jean Reno and Natalie Portman, it's wonderful. It's a very emotional action movie. I find myself the first time I ever watched it, I found myself surprisingly emotionally moved by it. Especially the ending. The ending is so great. The Professional's awesome. He also directed this movie in 1990 called La Femme Nikita. He directed also one of his probably most famous and pretty divisive, I think, science fiction movies called The Fifth Element. Which I need to watch again. It's been a long time since I've seen The Fifth Element. I hated it the first time I watched it. Luc Besson also did this movie called Lucy with Scarlett Johansson. He did this movie called The Family with Robert De Niro. He did this movie. He's directed a lot. He directed. I think he recently and by recently I mean 2017. So in 2017 he directed this movie called Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets. Which was based on the graphic novel. And it looked awesome. Like that was the trailer that I watched and it was just like, holy shit, this looks bonkers. And it's not. It's not. And then he did this movie called Anna about a assassin. So a lot has happened in his filmography. He's had a hit and miss career. But he's got this action thriller coming, and it sounds interesting, and it's got a good cast. This article is on Variety, published by Elsa Keslassi. Kiefer Sutherland is set to star alongside Al Pacino and Ever Anderson from Black Widow in Father Joe, a new action thriller set in 1990s Manhattan, written and produced by Luc Besson. I believe Father Joe is currently filming. Let's see. Kiefer Sutherland, who also joins the project as producer, stars in Father Joe as a man of faith who wages a violent war against the city's criminal underworld. Pacino plays a powerful mob boss, because of course he does, whose empire collides with Father Joe's crusade. Ever Anderson Ever Anderson, the rising star of Peter Pan and Wendy and Black Widow, plays a young woman caught between danger and redemption under Joe's guidance. Okay. So, Al Pacino playing a mob boss, of course, because he's Al fucking Pacino. And that is kind of... Look, I love Al Pacino. Al Pacino is one of the greatest actors of our time. But I feel like him playing a mob boss is kind of cliche. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Ever Anderson played... she was in Peter Pan and Wendy. She played a young... She was in Black Widow. I think she played... I want to make sure I get this right. She played young Natasha in Black Widow. And I like Kiefer Sutherland. Just I like him. I think he's a very, very good actor. There are elements that sound kind of like, I'm trying the best way to say this. There are things here that sound, I've seen that before. This sounds kind of predictable. You know, Pacino playing a powerful mob boss whose empire collides with Father Joe's crusade. A man of faith who wages... Now, see, that's interesting, though. Kiefer Sutherland playing a man of faith who wages a violent war against the city's criminal underworld. That sounds interesting. Like, a man of faith... Like, what has happened to your faith to make you that you felt it was necessary to go down this path? That sounds interesting to me. I'm very interested in that. The cliche part is Al Pacino playing a mob boss. It's like, you know, come on. Like, can't you give him something more meaty? Something more I don't know. But I like Ever Anderson. So, you know, maybe this sounds like elements of Heat. You know, maybe Ever Anderson is playing Al Pacino's granddaughter, kind of like Natalie Portman played Al Pacino's daughter in Heat. You know, which, guys, if you haven't seen Heat, holy shit, go and watch that. But this sounds kind of like it could either be a really big hit and go really well, or it sounds kind of like, oh God, there are so many things in here that we've seen before and better. And Luc Besson kind of having a hit and miss career as a director. So we'll see what happens. I am interested in this movie because Al Pacino is one of the greatest actors who ever lived. And I will, quite honestly, I'll see anything he's in. And honestly, Luc Besson, who directed The Professional, like, it's like, because you made The Professional, I'm interested in this, because The Professional is awesome. You know, I don't know. I'm nervous about this because of Luc Besson's career as a director. So we'll see. This sounds like it could be interesting, and that it could go... This sounds like it either could be great or terrible. So jump in the comment section and let me know what you guys think about this. Okay, so let me get my show notes here. Okay, so I think either Al a few episodes I talked about the fact that there's going to be this sequel, or not really a sequel, but a companion piece to The Social Network, and it's going to be called The Social Reckoning, and it's going to be about how Facebook, which I'm not going to call it Meta. That's stupid. Facebook. It's going to The Social Reckoning is going to be about how Facebook eventually became this platform for misinformation, and that sounds intriguing. That sounds like it could be like holy crap. So there's been a bit of casting news regarding The Social Reckoning. This article is on Deadline, published by Matt Grobar. And this article says, BAFTA winner Wunmi Mosaku from Sinners is set to join The Social Reckoning, Sony Pictures' follow-up to The Social Network, the Oscar-winning 2010 drama. Did that really come out in 2010? Fuck, I'm old. The Oscar-winning 2010 drama examining Facebook's origin story that Aaron Sorkin penned for director David Fincher. No word yet on who Mosaku will play. She joins a cast that includes the previously announced Mikey Madison, Jeremy Allen White, Jeremy Strong, and Bill Burr. Sorkin is directing this time around, having also again penned the script. Okay. Described as a companion piece to The Social Network, Sorkin's script tells the true story of how Frances Haugen, played by Mikey Madison, a young Facebook engineer, enlists the help of Jeff Horwitz, played by Jeremy Allen White, a Wall Street Journal reporter, to go on a dangerous journey that ends up blowing the whistle on the social network's most guarded secrets. That sounds cool. So Wunmi Mosaku, like this article points out, was in Sinners, which is great. Sinners is awesome. It's this allegorical horror movie about white man's appropriation of black culture, and it's so good. It's great. It's going to end up being one of my favorite movies of the year. I knew that when I walked out of it. I didn't walk out of it, but when I left the theater, I didn't walk out of it. But I knew that after the movie was over, I was like, that's gonna be in my top 5 of the year. But Wunmi Mosaku was great in Sinners. I'm very interested to see this movie. I need to watch The Social Network because, like previously stated, I haven't watched that one. But I need to watch The Social Network. I'm very interested to see how this movie, it's going to be about, like this article points out, Facebook's closely guarded secrets about misinformation, things like that. I'm very interested to see how far it goes, like what is going to be exposed here. So there is that. So jump in the comment section and let me know what you guys think about Wunmi Mosaku joining The Social Reckoning. Okay. So this next bit of news, I was talking last episode about casting news regarding the upcoming Beatles, the 4 biopics regarding the Beatles, and they've cast Saoirse Ronan, and so this next article, this next bit of news, regards more casting news regarding the Beatles 4-film cinematic event. This article is on Deadline, published by Justin Kroll. This article says James Norton has been tapped to play the Beatles' longtime manager Brian Epstein in Sam Mendes' The Beatles, a 4-film cinematic event, sources tell Deadline. Um, so, um, it's this article does point out that it says with each of the Mendes directed Beatles films telling the story of a different member of the band, unknown how significant a role he'd have in each film, but given Epstein's influence on the group, James Norton is expected to be featured in each film. Epstein first met the Beatles in 1961 at a lunchtime concert at Liverpool's Cavern Club, and even though he had no experience managing musicians, Epstein put them under contract. He also attempted to get the Beatles a recording contract, eventually securing a deal with EMI's Parlophone label. Okay. So, this kind of news, like casting for the Beatles manager, this makes sense to me. This, I mentioned before about, the casting of the wives. In last episode, I talked about, Saoirse Ronan is going to play the wife of Sir Paul McCartney, and they've cast the wives of a couple of the Beatles. That was pleasantly surprising to me because I wasn't sure how much of a personal story this would be. But the casting of the Beatles manager, this sounds like these biopics are really going to be very detailed and very going into very deep about how the Beatles came together. And I think the casting of the Beatles manager makes sense. And like this article points out, I think he will be featured in all 4 films. And I like James Norton. He was in the what's the Bob Marley movie, One Love, and of course House of the Dragon, and things like that. And I like him. So this bit of casting news makes sense to me. I'm very much looking forward to these 4 films. So jump in the comment section and let me know what you guys think about James Norton going to be playing Brian Epstein, manager of the Beatles. Let me know what you guys think. Okay, so this next bit of news is one that kind of it kind of warms my heart, to be perfectly honest with you, as a film fan. So there's this New York Times best-selling memoir by Amy Bloom called In Love, a memoir of love and loss. It's a best-selling memoir. And there's going to be a film adaptation of that memoir. This article is on The Hollywood Reporter, published by Boris Kitt. George Clooney and Annette Bening will star in Love, an adaptation of Amy Bloom's New York Times best-selling memoir In Love, a memoir of love and loss that is to be directed by Paul Weitz. Let's see. With In Love, Bloom wrote about how she slowly lost her husband to Alzheimer's, how the two made the decision to travel to Switzerland to end his life, and the struggle to move forward as a widow. The book was an affirmation of love and the power of relationships. It was also named Time Magazine's #1 best nonfiction book and included on their list of 100 must-read books. So yeah, okay. This sounds kind of, you know, I think sometimes we take for granted the relationships that we have in our lives, and I think, um, especially maybe for men, and I know this memoir was written by a woman, but I think men have a tough time acknowledging, um, acknowledging friendships and relationships that they've had in their lives. And this story sounds kind of, again, it's a story about, it's an affirmation of love and the power of relationships. I think, you know, I think coming out of the pandemic, I think during the pandemic, I think we all realized that we took our friendships and relationships for granted. And I think we all realized during the pandemic that, look, saying hi to your friends and hugging your friends, a hug goes a long way, you know. And I think this is a movie that will really, kind of say, look, um, regardless of what kind of relationship or friendships you've had, we need to acknowledge that these relationships and friendships have been meaningful in our lives. And that may sound weird for a man to say, but there are. I've known my best friend Mike Shreve for 25 years, and I'm going to ride with him till the wheels fall off. We've been through hell and come out the other side. And so I think this movie could be really a really emotionally powerful movie. Okay, let's get to the casting. So, George Clooney, I'll say it. George Clooney is one of the best actors ever. That's right, folks. I said that George Clooney is one of the best actors ever. His career may not have started out that way. Peacemaker, Batman and Robin. But it ended up being, I think I really do believe that George Clooney's career, people will eventually look at George Clooney's career the same way I do. Is that George Clooney, and also as a director, as a screenwriter, is one of the best ever. But since he's only acting in this movie, I'm just, I personally think that George Clooney is one of the greats. I really believe that. And it sounds like, so, Amy Bloom, this memoir, she writes about how she slowly lost her husband to Alzheimer's, how the two made the decision to travel to Switzerland to end his life, and the struggle to move forward as a widow. I think this is going to be some great acting from George Clooney. I really, this is going to move people. In addition to being moved by yet another Annette Bening acting performance. Annette Bening is, you can't not take your eyes off her. You can't take your eyes off of her. I'm sorry, that's not what I meant. You can't take your eyes off of her. She's such an engaging actress. I first saw Annette Bening in the critically acclaimed, I say that sarcastically, there was this movie that she did with Robert Downey Jr. called In Dreams. And it's terrible. But Robert Downey Jr. and Annette Bening are fantastic in the movie. It's just that everything else is shit. In Dreams is a giant dog turd. But I love her in it. And then, of course, Annette Bening in American Beauty. My God, she's so good in that movie. She's great in that movie. You know, and any film fan will tell you that everything Annette Bening has, you know, she's just this. You can't take your eyes off of her. She's so good. She's great. I think this is, I think given, I think given the talent of Annette Bening and the talent of George Clooney, I think this could be an emotionally moving film. I'm not too familiar with Paul Weitz as a director. I know that he's got an Oscar nomination. I think he directed this movie called Fatherhood, and then he directed this movie called Moving On, neither of which I have seen. So I'm not too familiar with him. But this movie's synopsis and George Clooney and Annette Bening being in this movie, yeah, you've got my attention. And I think this is going to pull at the heartstrings. I really do. So jump in the comment section and let me know what you guys think about this. Okay, so this next bit of news is kind of weird. So there's a director by the name of Renny Harlin who directed, I believe, the second Die Hard movie, Die Harder, which is pretty good. Die Hard 2 is pretty good. And unfortunately, his career kind of went off the rails. He directed this movie with John Cena. I think it was called 12 Rounds, which I heard wasn't very good. And then, you know, he's also got what else has he done? Yeah, I mean, he directed Cliffhanger, which was, you know, that's pretty cool. Unfortunately, so recently Renny Harlin has ran into some. He's done these movies. So he's done these The Strangers Chapter 1 and The Strangers Chapter 2 and The Strangers Chapter 3, which are a continuation of the previous Strangers movies. And they don't do they've pretty much, I mean, they're the closest thing to being straight to DVD without actually being straight to DVD. They're in theaters less than a week. I say that facetiously, but they're pretty awful. and nobody goes to see them. So Rennie Harlin has his career's kind of went off the rails. So he's got this new killer whale movie coming, which sounds completely ridiculous. So this article is on Joe Blow, published by Cody Haman. Rennie Harlin also directed Deep Blue Sea. Okay. So this article is on Joe Blow, published by Cody Haman. Deadline reports that John Travolta has already made his way over to the set of another movie, the killer whale survival thriller Black Tides. And this article does point out that Melissa Barrera, the headline of this article is about the fact that Melissa Barrera is going to be in this movie as well. Melissa Barrera was in a couple of the most recent. She was in the most recent Scream movies, the first two, the last two Scream movies, I should say. And she was in this other horror movie called Abigail, which is fucking awesome. If you guys haven't seen Abigail, it's basically a new take on Dracula's daughter, and it's bloody awesome. It's great. So this article does go on to say, directed by Deep Blue Sea's Rennie Harlin, from a screenplay written by Chris Sparling, who wrote Greenland, and Angel Agudo from Apocalypse Z, Black Tides sees John Travolta taking on the role of Bill Pierce, an estranged father trying to reconnect with his daughter, Rebecca, played by Melissa Barrera, and grandson, Sebastian, played by Dylan Torrell. When their sailboat is attacked by rogue orcas off the southern Spanish coast, setting off a fight for survival across open waters. Okay. Sure. Why not? I mean, this sounds cool. This sounds awesome. You know, killer whales attacking a sailboat. You know, I'm a simple man. Okay? If I hear about a movie where animals eat people, you're gonna get my money. You know, and I like John Travolta as well. I've talked about this before. I think John Travolta has had, unfortunately, an up and down career, a roller coaster career, but I like him. Excuse me. I don't know what's wrong with me today. And I really like, of the films that I've seen Melissa Barrera in, I really like her too. She was great in Abigail, and she was great in the Scream movies that she was in. I'm concerned about Rennie Harlin directing this movie, because when your big claim to fame is Deep Blue Sea, or even, I mean, Die Hard 2 is pretty good. Die Hard 2 is pretty good. You know, I can't deny that. Yeah. When did Die Hard 2 come out? That's my... Die Hard 2 came out in 1990. So yeah, it's Rennie Harlin. Yeah, okay. Look. The bottom line is, other than Die Hard 2, if your big claim to fame is directed by Rennie Harlan, director of Deep Blue Sea. Like, how good is this movie going to be? Honestly. Look, if this was directed by, I don't know, name a decent action thriller director. The premise sounds pretty cool. The premise sounds like this could be pretty engaging. But we'll see. I know Rennie Harlan could use a hit. John Travolta, all due respect, he could use a hit too. All I can say is the premise sounds cool. I'm concerned about who's directing it. I hope it's good, and I hope this doesn't go the way of Deep Blue Sea. That's all I'm saying. Okay? So jump in the comment section and let me know what you guys think about Melissa Barrera. And I like Melissa Barrera. I know I said that, but about Rennie Harlan, Killer Whale movie, Black Tides. Let me know what you guys think. Okay, so next bit of news here. So for those, I've talked about this in recent episodes too. There's this movie coming from film director Jeremy Saulnier called October, which is kind of this. It's described as this fugitive thriller set on Halloween, and I'm like, yes, bring it. So there's been some casting news regarding that movie. This article is on Joe Blow, published by Cody Haman. Let me see. Hold on. Oh, so this article about a little ways down. It says Deadline has revealed that this film is going to reunite him with Green Room cast member Imogen Poots. Poots joins the previously announced cast members Corey Michael Smith, Chase Sui Wonders, Sophie Wilde, Stephen Root, Young Mazzino, and Stanley Simons. Let's see. So, filming is currently underway. I do know that. Jeremy Saulnier, like I've said before, Blue Ruin, Green Room, Hold the Dark. So Imogen Poots was in Green Room. So it's nice to see a reconnection, like Jeremy Saulnier reuniting with Imogen Poots. They obviously had a great working relationship on Green Room. Green Room is amazing. Holy shit. I want to make sure. Let me see if there's any more information here. Hold on. So Imogen Poots is going to reunite with Jeremy Saulnier on this movie. I am so excited for this. Like a fugitive thriller set on Halloween. Like, come on. Like, I'm trying not to get my anticipation too high, but this sounds like The Fugitive set on Halloween night. That sounds awesome. So, and it's from Jeremy Saulnier, so I'm really excited about that. And I like Imogen Poots quite a bit. I know, she's done some very interesting stuff in her career. and I think she's a very fine actress. And it's great to see her reuniting with Jeremy Saulnier. So jump in the comment section and let me know what you guys think about Imogen Poots cast in this movie October. And they started filming in October. Cool. So jump in the comment section and let me know your thoughts. Okay. Couple more bits of news here. So for those who don't know, there's this video game called Sleeping Dogs. And it was released on the PlayStation and Xbox in 2012. And it took inspiration from like Hong Kong action and crime cinema. And it like martial arts action shootouts. Basically, it's a video game that like it everything you've ever seen in an action movie, Sleeping Dogs has that in a video game. It's kind of like it has a triad organization. It's awesome. And there's been development on a film adaptation of the video game for a long time. At one point, Donnie Yen, who I love, Donnie Yen was going to play the lead in the film adaptation of Sleeping Dogs. But he ended up the version of Sleeping Dogs that Donnie Yen was going to do kind of it's dead. That's the best way to put it. It died, and it's no. So yeah, but Hollywood has been trying to do a film adaptation of Sleeping Dogs for a long time, and now we finally have some news regarding that. This article is on MovieWeb, published by Jonathan Fugue. And about halfway down, this article says, Marvel and Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings star Simu Liu has now stepped up to take on the lead in the Sleeping Dogs movie, taking to Instagram to reveal that a draft has now been written. Following the initial tease from Simu Liu, fans were quick to offer their support for him in the leading role of Wei Shen, a former San Francisco Police Department officer who finds himself transferred to Hong Kong and tasked with infiltrating a particularly infamous triad organization. Yeah. So Simu Liu is going... I mean, he was also in Barbie, in the Barbie movie. Simu Liu in Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings was awesome. That is some of the best martial arts action I have ever seen in my life. It's great. So I find it, you know, and Simu Liu, you know, the training that he did for that movie, he was perfect for that role. And I find it fitting that he is going to lead this Sleeping Dogs video game adaptation, film adaptation of the video game, I should say. it's disappointing that Donnie Yen is no longer involved because I fucking love Donnie Yen. Um, but I really like Simu Liu and the kinds of martial arts that he did in Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings was really, really awesome. And I think this could be a good fit for him. I hope the movie is good. I've said for a while now that given the right, if you take great care with these properties, video game to film adaptations can actually be really, really good. We've seen that in the past 5 years. And I really believe that. And I hopefully Sleeping Dogs can be one of those. Hopefully Sleeping Dogs can be great. So at least we know the action from Simu Liu is going to be awesome. That's going to be great. So jump in the comment section and let me know what you guys think about Simu Liu starring in a film adaptation of Sleeping Dogs. So one last bit of news here. I mentioned earlier that we're finally getting a third, or not finally, but we are like a third Mortal Kombat movie has been greenlit. Now, on that note, the release date of the second Mortal Kombat movie has now been delayed. So, let me see here. This article is on CBR, published by Lee Freitag. So originally, the second Mortal Kombat movie was going to be released this past October. And for whatever reason, that didn't happen. Which is kind of insane. But so the what's really kind of crazy and kind of it's kind of insane that the movie was going to be released this past October, and then like a week before its release, Warner Brothers and New Line Cinema decided, oh, we're going to push the release date. And I was like, what? So anyway, so this article is on CBR, published by Lee Freitag. And this article says that according to Deadline, Warner Brothers and New Line Cinema have moved Mortal Kombat 2 up a week, with the sequel now set to hit theaters on May 8th, 2026, instead of May 15th, 2026. So it got like 1 week before its October 2021, 1 week before its October 2025 release date, it got delayed to May of 2026, May 15th, and then now it's moved to May 8th. What the fuck is happening at Warner Brothers and New Line Cinema? So, like, make it anyway. So now Mortal Kombat 2 is going to be released on May 8th, 2026. Now, I will say, so there's another movie that's coming in May of next year. And it's going to be the Mandalorian movie, The Mandalorian and Grogu, which looks pretty good. I hope it's good. We need a good Star Wars movie, for God's sake. But Mortal Kombat 2 now moving 2 weeks within The Mandalorian and Grogu, I think is a good move. Because if you move it a week before The Mandalorian and Grogu, or the same weekend, or anything like, or if you move it closer to The Mandalorian and Grogu, no one's going to see Mortal Kombat 2, and everyone's going to go see Mandalorian and Grogu. But now that you have more space in between both movies, I think Mortal Kombat 2 specifically now has more of a chance to make more money than it would otherwise. I just don't understand why a week before its October 2025 release date, you move it to May of 2026. I don't get that. I don't understand. But I do understand not releasing it. I do understand releasing it more than a week outside of The Mandalorian and Grogu, because you don't want a Mortal Kombat movie to be financially drowning in The Mandalorian and Grogu's money. So that, I think, is a good move. But it just sucks that we have to now wait even longer for Mortal Kombat 2, assuming it's any good. But, so now Mortal Kombat 2 has been delayed, so now we have to wait even longer for that, which sucks. But it is what it is. So jump in the comment section and let me know what you guys think about that. Well, that'll about do it for this episode. Hopefully the audio is better. I do sincerely apologize for that again. I will be back on probably one more time today to talk about more stuff. I do need kind of a break. My throat is a little dry. So I hope you guys enjoy the show. I hope you guys continue to enjoy the show. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave a comment or send me an email. And until then, I will see you at the movies.